Good afternoon to you. Mark Side with HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Outlook and Discussion, Tuesday, the 29th of June, 2021. And boy, that background graphic says it all. We have a couple of areas to watch in the Atlantic. One of them could go on to become our next tropical storm, and I'll outline the reasons behind why I think that. Also, we'll take a look at Enrique in the eastern Pacific. It's still hanging around. And then a very interesting system down in the southern hemisphere off the coast of Argentina and Brazil. I'll show you that at the end of today's discussion, sort of weather elsewhere in the world, if you will. All right, so let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center. First, we have a couple of X's out here. Low probabilities of development overall in the short term with both of these systems. This is Invest Area 95L. This is Invest Area 97L. And in case you're new to this whole watching the tropics thing, what do these numbers 97L and 95L even mean? Well, it's just a way to keep up with what's what instead of just calling everything an area of interest or a disturbed weather. There's this numbering system when they reach a certain level of organization, and it's very subjective for the most part. There's not like a definitive set of criteria that something has to meet to necessarily be upgraded, if you will, from a disturbance to getting one of these numbers. And they go 90 through 99. The letter L is for Atlantic. And as I've said before on previous videos, it's actually AL95 or AL97, but we in the weather world, I guess, get lazy and just call it 95L. So that's how that works. And if it's the Eastern Pacific, it gets the letter E, and the whole set of numbers over there, 90 through 99 in that basin, and the same thing for the West Pacific. That gets the letter W, 91W or 97W, for all of these little areas of interest. So that being said, here's 95L 20 and 30% chances over the next 48 and 120 hours respectively. And then this one, 20 and 40. And I do believe that one is going to increase over time. These two right here kind of swapped colors. This one, 95, was orange earlier, showing a medium chance of development. And this one was yellow, so they've kind of switched. As I do not think this one's going to go on to do much in terms of significant development. That being said, as I'll show you in a moment, it's going to spread some inclement weather through the islands and into the Caribbean. But it's 97L out here that we really have to watch, and I think it's got the best chance of going on to develop. It's in a prime location south of 10 degrees of latitude right here, taking advantage of some warm water temperatures, favorable environment, and there's just a lot of different aspects going for this over the next few days. So apparently today was the day that NOAA was doing some satellite maintenance or something, and there was an outage in the data stream. And so the Tropical Tidbits site has this skip there. You can see it started off from 7Z, and then it kind of skips around, finally ending up here at 19Z. But you get the idea. There's 95L. Put a big 95 there just to remind me. And 97L out here, and then during that skip there of the satellite outage, data outage, you can see what happens. But look, let's just look at the end frame here of 97. It's got that look to it overall, kind of like an S. You know, you can draw that in there. There's that S shape to it. Whereas 95 lost some convection in here. It's just kind of not disintegrating. That's not the word I'm looking for. But it certainly is on the downtrend of convective organization. Whereas this one, 97L, is slowly organizing overall. Elsewhere across the western Atlantic basin, for what it's worth, here's the remnants of Danny, which made landfall yesterday in the low country of South Carolina, now tracked its way inland, well inland, and is now over parts of the deep south, bringing some showers and thunderstorms with that low-level vorticity. It's a disturbance. It's still out there, lots of moisture with it. I bet the air is muggy and just quite wet through here, as it pretty much is all down through here because of this strong Bermuda high sitting out here, honestly. In the Gulf, a tropical wave in the western Gulf of Mexico, flaring up some showers and thunderstorms, big upper level low here, and another area of disturbed weather in the Caribbean. Nothing organizing, though, nothing coming together and focusing that energy into a tropical cyclone, and you can see that. I tell you, I show it often. This is a great tool. No areas of concentrated vorticity through here. There's Danny, the leftovers of Danny, easy to spot. There's Enrique, focused as it may be, limited convection with it now, off the coast of the Baja Peninsula. Here's 95L, And then there's the signature of 97L starting to really come together now. So very easy to identify areas where the energy is focusing and coming together. When that happens down in the tropics and other conditions favor, you can really start to ramp things up and get a tropical depression, a storm, and eventually a hurricane. All right, so the upper ocean heat content, very important here. Our disturbance 97L is located, I guess the white color will work. It's located generally in this vicinity right out here right now, south of 10 degrees north, in an area where the water temperatures and the upper ocean heat content are high enough that it's getting some much needed latent heat for itself. It's in a favorable environment. Water temperatures are warm, but it's important here, it's not just at the skin of the ocean. You know, it's not like you jump in off of the boat out there, so to speak, and you hit the water, you're like, oh, this is great, 81, 82 degrees or whatever. It's deep. That the warm layer goes very deep, and the deeper that warm layer extends, the more upper ocean heat content there is. And so when there's waves and wind and anything churning up that water, it's just bringing up more warm water. And that continues to feed these systems. The deeper that warm water lies beneath the surface, the more energy is available. And so that's what this shows, as sort of the beginning of appreciable upper ocean heat content all through here. So anything south of that can support pretty strong hurricanes, no doubt about it. And it's when you get into these areas over here where the upper ocean heat content is ridiculously high that you can have especially intense hurricanes. And it's only the latter part of June here, as you can see, and this is just going to increase throughout the basin. So 97L located in a favorable area heat content wise. 95L is located in here, and it's going to head towards warmer upper ocean heat content values, or higher values I should say. But there's other environmental factors going against 95 that seem to be favoring 97 a little bit more. All right, so not only are the water temperatures favorable out here in this area, but the main development region in the deep tropics, just this little section, running above normal. And so that's even more fuel for the fire, so to speak. And that helps. It really does. It adds just more and more energy and latent heat into the atmosphere, especially the lower part. The moisture, the humidity, all of that is there. And then you can see this nice signature, this sort of Atlantic Nino showing up, the warmer than average sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Guinea starting to spread and thicken as we get later and later into the season. This could be a big player. It might be a part of the reason why we're seeing such vigorous activity, despite the fact that it's only June. All right, so let's take a look at the global models here. I'm going to show you some interesting stuff. This is the GFS. That's one of the global models, and there's many. So this is the GFS, the Global Forecast System, the United States main model, if you will, for weather forecasting from the National Centers for Environmental Prediction, or NCEP. And this is my favorite layer of the atmosphere to show you what's going on, because if this part of the atmosphere is a no-go, if you do not have the vorticity, you know, the bones of the system, if you will, the framework, nothing else matters. You know, if there's no low-level center, there is absolutely nothing else to even worry about 99% of the time. Sometimes these systems form from upper-level systems, but that's a story for another day. That's a lot more rare. When we're speaking of tropical waves, this is what we're looking for. The vorticity signature. Is it spread out? Is it bundled? You know, just what's the deal? So there's 95 right there. There's 97 right there. And then here's Danny's remnants. We'll put a D on it over here. And that's the leftover small but still fairly potent vorticity signature of Enrique in the Eastern Pacific. So let's put the GFS frames into motion one at a time here and watch what happens. All right, so this is 24 hours out. So just 24 hours. So tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, tropical wave here approaching the islands. That's 95. Look what goes on with 97. Already closing off, becoming better defined in the model. It's over that very warm water in the low latitudes down here. So, you know, this is believable. Like, it's 24 hours out. It's like, how wrong could it be? And you see the organization of it on satellite. It just makes sense. So that's 24 hours out. All right, let's go another 24 out to 48. And during that time frame, by the way, 95 goes through the islands. So you folks down here, you're going to have that shower and thunderstorm activity, and you got to be ready for that. Gusty winds, squalls, maybe the potential for some flash flooding in some of those heavier downpours. But then look at 97. That's a bona fide tropical depression in the modeling, in my opinion. I've seen this before. You can just go and look at other systems and kind of match it up. And, that looks like a solid tropical cyclone in the lower part of the atmosphere. And it's moving along south of that very stout area of high pressure, which is to its north. Right here looks like a big old fried egg up there or whatever. Got that oval shape to it. The subtropical ridge moving to the south of it. And it's in a favorable environment overall. And just to throw a few other things out there, I was noticing different people like Eric Webb talking about a convectively coupled Kelvin wave that is generally forecast to kind of spread throughout this region. And that's sort of a local, smaller area of enhanced convergence, lower wind shear, higher moisture content, a little bit of a component in the wind to kind of get vorticity going. And it's just this Kelvin wave idea is smaller geographically than a broad scale like Madden-Julian oscillation that would be over a certain area. The Kelvin wave would be smaller inside of that, if you will. It's kind of hard to explain. I said it before, it's kind of like a shot. Like if you take a Red Bull and you're just amped up versus getting a really good night's sleep and just generally being well rested. That's my analogy. The MJO is a good night's sleep and being well rested, and then you feel good, and the convectively coupled Kelvin wave is Red Bull. All right? So there you go. This system, looking as well as it does in the modeling, and it's not even encountering that Kelvin wave yet, that's something to be said. All right? So that's 48 hours. Let's go on out another 24 to 72, and clearly you see what's going on here. It's strengthening. Small, it's not a very large system, and by days 3 and 4, it goes through the islands there by 96 hours, and then by 120, it's in the Caribbean south of Hispaniola, and we'll see what happens, And yes, and I'll show you this in a moment, the ensembles and how they go out into time, and we can all look at the GFS out to 16 days if we want to, and you can just pick a model run and figure out whatever doomsday scenario brings this towards your doorstep that you like. And just keep in the back of your mind that, even 5 days out, is it really going to be just south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic in 5 days exactly? Maybe. But then you think about the chances of that, and then you add another 5 days, and come on, So be careful. And I know, again, people are going to look, it's like telling the kid, please don't eat the cookies that are freshly baked on top of the refrigerator in the cookie jar or in the microwave or whatever. You leave, you turn your back, and they go and they take a couple of cookies. Happens every time. Just be mindful that when you watch these long-term models and you see the different social media posts of whatever, it's all so far out into time, and we don't even have a named storm yet. So keep that in mind. And we'll keep it in mind right now when I show you this. This is the guidance from the various models here from the NCAR site that I like to use, showing different tropical cyclone guidance. These are the various models, the consensus models here, and then the various HMON, HWRF, through different Canadian, Euro interpolated, the GFS ensemble, so forth and so on, and the various and sundry statistical models that are not as advanced as the dynamical models, blah, 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 blah. But the bottom line, look at the envelope. That's the guidance here. The overall envelope, when you can outline it in a cone, is tightly clustered into the Caribbean. And so the takeaway here is you guys down here in the windwards and leewards, it looks like now, especially the windwards, but this could change. This whole envelope could shift north just a little bit. And then it puts areas like Guadeloupe, the Virgin Islands up here, possibly. You just don't know. This is so far out into time when we're talking about computer models that it can change. But this is the overall early guidance coming out from the various models, and we'll keep an eye on this and how it changes. Then we can look at the GFS ensembles, and that's what this shows, the INSEP GFS ensemble track from 12Z today. And look at all of those different models painting the general idea that this heads into the Caribbean, maybe ending up somewhere in the Western Caribbean in about 6 or 7 days. That's the takeaway. That we have something out there. It seems like it's organizing. It's over unusually favorable conditions, or surrounded by favorable conditions. And it's got ensemble guidance from one of the better global models out there. The GFS is no slouch. It's got its problems. It's different faults, certainly. But it has been pretty good overall, especially the new version here, the latest iteration of it. Thinking way back in April there was a strong typhoon in the Westpac that the GFS saw coming 8 days out, and generally speaking, it nailed it, the overall pattern. And sure enough, 8 days later, there was a very powerful typhoon out that way. I don't remember the name of it, but the GFS, this isn't messing around here. This is a pretty good signal. There's not 3 ensemble members in there. Yeah, well, maybe all of them show it. It looks like. I think it was 20 members or something like that. Maybe more than that now. I can't even remember. The GFS has so many different things going for it and changes. It's hard for me to even keep up. But there's a lot of members showing it. All right. Now, to be fair, let's see what the Euro shows. And this is where I need some, like a soundboard for the whatever goofy sound effects. So here's the Euro, same time frame, same part of the atmosphere, 850 millibars, 95L, 97L, remnants of Danny Enrique. All right. So let me just put this is every 24 hours, 24, 48, 72, not even close. I mean, a little bit of a reflection with 97L right there, and that's about it. If we erase my telestration and go to 96 and 120, it's virtually gone in the Caribbean over here compared to what the operational GFS shows. Could the Euro be the solution, and it's got a handle on things, and this is what happens? Of course it could. Nobody knows for sure, so we just look at these two and go, well, okay, seems like a pretty good chance overall that we're going to see something develop. We can look at the ensembles to help, not just the operationals, and the overall background state, and looking at the satellite imagery and the vorticity, and just run things along, understanding the limitations of the models. And it's hurricane season, we'd be prepared for this stuff no matter what, I hope. So that's about it. I mean, that's all I can show you. I don't know for sure what's going to happen. But you guys down there in the islands, you're always first up when these tropical waves come off if they stay at a low enough latitude. And this looks like it will, along with 95L as well. So both of those could easily roll through the windwards and leewards coming up. So just be ready for that, and we'll take it a day at a time. All right, so here's that system. A rare subtropical storm is developed down in the South Atlantic off of the coast of Brazil, and it is named Raoni or something like that. The Brazilian Navy has the responsibility of this system. Look at that, very solid convection around the center there. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, it's rotating clockwise. What's the story? Well, that's because it's south of the equator, and cyclones in the southern hemisphere rotate clockwise. And that's what you get. So there it is. I appreciate our good friend down in South Florida, Marcel, pointed this out to me, if I can talk. Pretty interesting to see this. Let me just click on the hashtag and see what else pops up about it, because it's kind of rare. It's kind of different. Another view of it in the infrared satellite imagery off the coast there. Lots of cold air around, but it's embedded in there. A lot of instability helping to create the thunderstorm activity, the convective activity that has led to this. And it's a subtropical system. Pretty neat to see, I would say. All right, there's another look at it, a visible satellite. Pretty cool. So thanks, Marcel, for pointing that out. Doesn't look like it'll affect land directly, but kind of interesting south of the equator down in the southern hemisphere. So we'll see what goes on with our systems out here, and we'll take it a day at a time. Like I said, speaking of a day at a time, every day, hopefully, I'll put together a morning podcast for you. Sometimes early, sometimes later in the day, but every day I'll try to start it out with Hurricane Season, the podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, hosted by Anchor. Real easy to find. Look for the logo, like that one on Apple or wherever. It's called Hurricane Season, the podcast. You got to type that in, searching for it, or my name, Mark Sudduth, and you can subscribe to that. And it's a short little digest about what I'm looking at for the days ahead, or the day ahead, and then I go over it in more detail in the Hurricane Outlook and discussion in the afternoon. All right? And with that being said, we are finished. So have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon. I'll be back in the morning with a look at things early on with the podcast episode there, Hurricane Season, the podcast. And we'll see how things stand 24 hours from now. All right? Again, have a great rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in and listening and watching. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll do it again tomorrow.